Welcome to this, the fifth and final part of the Creating the Habits You Want series. I set out to help people find real happiness in life, become healthier, and experience better relationships. In short, to enjoy the very best that life can offer. What I've learned along the way is that the progress we make in these and in other areas is largely due to good habits. So why is it so many of us have difficulty implementing the habits that we'd like to develop, and instead end up hanging on to unhelpful ones? In previous episodes, we have looked at some of the insightful work on habits done by such people as Charles Duhigg and James Clear. We saw how an identity-based approach to developing new behavior patterns could serve to embed them in our daily life, making them congruent with our values, automatic, and easy to sustain. Digging down a bit into the actual structure of a habit loop, we then learned how it would be helpful to find an effective trigger for the new habits we hope to embrace, and also the need to make them attractive, easy to perform, and satisfying. But what of those existing behavior patterns that we might like to change? In the last two episodes, we saw how unhelpful habits can be triggered when our emotional and other needs are not being properly met, and also how much easier it is to replace bad habits with good ones than it is to simply try to eliminate them with just willpower. In this, our last video of this series, we'll look at what to do when things start going wrong, as they invariably will. It's a sort of troubleshooting episode, if you like. But before we get going, if you haven't already done so, may I invite you to take a moment to find the subscribe button on your screen and use it to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, because I'd like these videos to reach as many people as possible, please feel free to share them with anyone you think might find them of value. A common issue that we may run into when making changes is to become overwhelmed by the process. This is particularly true when we are tempted to make a number of changes simultaneously. Of course, it's much easier to work with just one goal at a time, but sadly we don't always have the luxury to do so. There are ways for us to overcome our feelings of being overwhelmed. They include taking the time element out of the equation. Because we are perhaps so used to working to deadlines, doing so may seem counterproductive. There are, of course, times when deadlines are essential and determined by external forces. But just sticking to a schedule can be more helpful than stressing over a deadline. In fact, doing so can make all the difference as far as our habits is concerned. My tip is therefore, when you can, to give yourself permission to focus on the process rather than on your performance. Also, rather than to stress over every detail of what we want to achieve and how we're going about doing it, to concentrate on just one or two foundation or keystone habits. These are habits that start a chain effect in our life that can produce a number of positive outcomes. For me, just starting my day by first meditating and then working out at the gym will set me up in a way that nothing else can. I become more focused, more creative, and more productive. To me, it's a no-brainer. Then there are likely to be times when we go off the tracks. Perhaps during that holiday when our eating and workout schedule has gone out the window. Or maybe when something upsetting has happened that has temporarily taken us off the straight and narrow. This is natural. Change is not always easy, and our healthy habits might at first prove a question of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Please don't stress, you're still on the right path. Just be prepared for such eventualities by having a game plan to deal with them when they arise. Here are some tips that we might like to adopt. Scheduling our habits in a diary. This needs to be specific in terms of time, duration, and location. A vague, I want to accomplish whatever it is, really doesn't cut it. Committing to working on a certain task without distraction between 10 and 12 does. Sticking to our schedule, even if we need to compromise on our performance from time to time. For example, if we don't have time for a full workout, to at least do some push-ups or squats. Ensuring our environment is conducive to our success. For example, eliminating distractions when we are scheduled to work, or planning and shopping for healthy meals ahead of time. Accountability is a good motivator, because finding someone that expects us to do something helps us stay on track. It might be helpful to share our objectives with a friend or colleague, or even just to have someone at the gym expect to see us there. Using willpower. I know so far in the series I've not given willpower particularly good press, but I admit that it can be most useful. For example, psychologists tell us that those of us who are better able at deferring gratification stand a significantly better chance of achieving our objectives. So people that save now so as to have a nest egg later will reap the rewards, as will those that work hard now so as to be able to enjoy some time off later. Charles Duhigg compared willpower to a muscle that can be flexed. The good news is that, like our other muscles, it is a trait that can be developed through exercise. I do hope this series has been helpful and inspiring. I believe we have so much more control over our lives than most of us imagine. And when we apply good habits to our life, the sky is the limit. Remember to be the person you want to be, practicing the habits that that person naturally practices. Remember to apply the elements of the habit loop to habits you want to adopt, finding an effective trigger for them and making them truly attractive, easy to perform and satisfying. Remember, it is particularly important to make our new habits rewarding and as much of an emotional experience as possible. Neuroscientists frequently cite Hebb's law with regards to neuroplasticity. Hebb's law states that neurons that fire together wire together. Simply put, this means that repeatedly adding a strong emotion to a new activity will insist in creating a new neural pathway that will, in turn, assist in making it more automatic and increasingly a new habit. Remember to be aware of any unmet needs you may have, so as not to allow them to unconsciously disrupt your life. Remember to tackle your bad habits before they become too entrenched or an addiction. Addictive habits such as those involving substance abuse, gambling, sex, or merchandising can be destructive and cause great harm to ourselves. Remember that at any time you have the power to replace bad habits with good ones. Remember to start small. At first, getting the procedure and the habit right is more important than performance. Remember to embrace who you are, along with the habits that support your values. You are a unique person with all the tools needed to be truly exceptional. I'm really keen to hear how you're getting on with implementing new habits. So as always, I invite you to leave your comments below, or if you prefer, to contact me privately through my website, christophernorris.co.uk. Thanks for watching the series right to the end. My name's Christopher Norris. I live and I work in London, but for those of you based further afield, I also work online. Enjoy the process of working on your habits, and as always, expect life to be different.